Now to security matters. Security experts in Nigeria have called for a change of strategy in tackling insecurity in the northeast and northwest regions. This is as they converged on the nation's capital, Abuja, to review the escalating insecurity situation in both regions, including the causative factors of the violence being witnessed, with a view to recommending proactive solutions. Amadin Uyi reports.
In the last few years, Nigeria has suffered tremendously from insecurity challenges. Despite trillions spent to tackle the menace, its resilience has overwhelmed government and security agencies, with citizens bearing the brunt of the crisis. With this in mind, stakeholders have converged on Nigeria's capital, Abuja, to review the current insecurity situation, making a comparison of events in the northeast and northwest region of the country.
The essence of this gathering really is to ensure peer learning between the Northwest and the Northeast. There's quite a lot of initiatives that have happened in the Northeast in terms of managing violence, injustice, and criminality. And so we want the Northwest to learn from this.
They say there's a need to review the situation in both regions, have a thorough grasp of events, in an effort to have a deep understanding of the reasons and causes of the crisis.
If you look at the crisis, for example, there are several causative factors. So what are the kind of policy measures we need to put in place? So you are looking at issues around education, issues around employment, livelihood skills, psychological reorientation of people, providing better narrative, to the negative narrative, that led to some of these things.
We'll be identifying key stakeholder institutions that we need to engage with. We'll be identifying the key issues affecting the Northwest and the Northeast. We want to understand the key alignments and the points of diversion or areas where what is different in the Northwest is identified as it relates to the Northeast.
Some of these people, particularly those we call the bandits, have their own feelings that are genuine. There were quite a number of them that were forced into what they are doing by the operations of the Nigerian state, particularly the Nigerian security agencies.
They also assure that the new measures aimed at tackling the challenges will be recommended to help government take proactive steps to end the escalating violence both on the field and at the policy level.
We need to think differently. We need to become much more creative, much more innovative to end this thing. We can't continue to do business as usual. I mean, we need to come down from our high horses and engage, particularly with the communities that are the receiving end, of this crisis. We need to bring them, we need to amplify their voice.
We don't want to continue to talk about the problem. We want to identify what policy changes can happen and what key stakeholders can do in addressing them. We are pulling together all the policy recommendations that have come from most of the high-level engagements we have had. So it's not just a talk shop.
We really need to sit down and study this phenomenon we call banditry or insecurity in the Northwest very closely, very keenly, with an interest of addressing the issue holistically and completely.
In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has returned to Nigeria after a 2-week private visit to Paris, France. The presidential jet NAF 001 touched down at the presidential wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. The president was received by the chief of staff and others. Now, in the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has directed that a food intervention should be provided by the federal government to check the shortage of food in the country. Now, to discuss this further, we are joined by Francis Chikala. He's a political analyst. Good morning, Francis. Thank you so much for joining me on the news.
Good morning. The name is Francis Chilaka, not Chikala.
Francis, apologies for that. Francis Chilaka. All right, so now let's take a look at the economic factors or even the external influences that have actually contributed to the rising cost of living in Nigeria. How would you say these factors have actually evolved over the past few years?
Well, we're talking about the past few years. Let's be pragmatic. Let's say it the way
Past
it is.
few months.
It all started in the last 8 years. With the kind of government we had in the last 8 years, and then the continuation of the same kind of government in the last 8 months. So nothing has been done in terms of security. The insecurity in the land is making things very, very difficult. Farmers can't go back to the farms, and as long as farmers are not in the farms, you expect that there will be high cost of living, coupled with the fact that most of the land borders, especially in the West, have been closed down. So I don't understand what kind of system we're running. The farmers are not going to the market. You're increasing the tariff for importers. So why not open the border so that food can come in and then Nigerians will have something to eat? I mean, each time I sit back and I hear, especially Mr. President saying, I feel the pains of Nigerians. I feel the sufferings of Nigerians. And I ask myself, what pains and suffering is it feeling? Is it the fact that the bag of rice is now 74,000 Naira? Is it the fact that a carton of noodles is about 10,500? Is it the fact that parents can't pay school fees, can't pay their rents and all of that? So, this whole thing boils down to the bad decisions government keeps taking. And until government wakes up to reality, to understand that Nigerians are suffering because of their bad policies, it will continue that way.
All right, but it is the same presidency that, has actually, denied the high cost of living and also said that Nigeria is has the lowest cost of living in Africa and is the cheapest place to actually live in the whole of Africa. Now, compared to, other countries in Africa and their cost of living, what do you think are the implications of the rising cost of living as an average Nigerian that's actually struggling right now in the country?
You see, when people who speak for government open their mouth to talk sometimes, you ask yourself if they are really in tune with what is happening in the country. I felt that statement by, I think it's by Analoga, is an insult on the intelligence of Nigerians. You're talking about Nigerians living well and all of that. What is the exchange rate of the dollar today? What is the purchasing power? You go to the market with 10,000 Naira, you come back with absolutely nothing. So if you're telling me that Nigerians are living well, I don't blame him, and I don't blame those in government, because, after all, this is a country where people are suffering, and you're buying cars worth 160 million, 130 million for some people, and people are going abroad, at the expense of the Nigerian people. So it's sad, it is shameful. It is also very painful when government officials talk. The truth of the matter is that Nigerians are really suffering. Let us be very honest with ourselves. The Nigerians are suffering. Nigerians are going through a loss. So anybody trying to make comparisons should compare how much the dollar is today compared to how much people are earning. Salaries are not being increased. So and if you're talking of living standard, you ask yourself, what is the Nigerian purchasing power? What is the value? So it's not just coming to tell us, that yes, we're living better. How are we living better? This is how many days down the line. There's no electricity supply. Businesses are shutting down. Retrenchment, unemployment is at its highest. So what are you talking about? What is the government really talking about? The government is just talking because they want to talk, not because they are in tune with the reality of what the ordinary Nigerians are going through.
All right, Francis, if you could actually remember a few days ago, the CBN also did blame the lack of forex, which has actually, exacerbated the high cost of living in Nigeria, on the mass exodus of Nigerians to, other countries, and also on medical tourism. What is your take on that? Do you agree with him?
I totally disagree with him. You see, when we talk about this medical tourism, you and I should ask ourselves, who are the people going on medical tourism? Not the ordinary Nigerians. The government should know that whatever policies they are making should be one that betters the life of the ordinary Nigerians. They are the ones that matter most. So if you're talking of medical tourism, how many ordinary Nigerians go abroad for treatment? And why do people actually go abroad for treatment? It's because our medical system here is faulty. It's not working. Nothing is absolutely working. So if the medical system was working, government officials to start with wouldn't have to go abroad for treatment. Maybe, like we keep saying, we keep asking government, maybe it's time to make laws stopping anybody in government from going abroad for treatment. Maybe that's the way to fix our hospitals. So as far as I'm concerned, and I keep saying it, the government is not making policies that is meant to take care of the ordinary Nigerians. Rather, they keep making policies that is taking care of those who are in government.
All right. Now, aside that, people have actually said that, there's so many policies on ground right now, but implementation is actually the problem. Would you say that these policies, some people or some stakeholders and analysts also believe that the policies are actually good ones, but the implementation is the problem? So would you say that the policies are, on point, but it's how to implement them to be able to affect the lives of the Nigerians that is the problem?
If you make a policy and the Nigerian people are not aware of the policy, the Nigerian people are not educated about the policy, how do you intend to implement it? Take, for instance, Mr. President left the country for 2 weeks personal visit to France. Did he transfer power to his deputy? So these are issues where we have to wait for Mr. President to come back to begin to call for emergency meetings, to begin to ask that food items be moved from the reserve to caution the effect of the standard of living of Nigerians. I mean, this is not what governance is all about. Governance is about continuity. And if you're making a policy for the betterment of the people, and yet the people are improvised, the people are hungry, the people are starving, then the policy is not making any sense. It simply means that whatever policy you're putting in place is not working. We go back to the drawing board and find out why it's not working. If implementation is the problem, why is it not being implemented well? Who are those responsible? Why are people not being punished for not implementing government policies? So we just have a system that lacks accountability. And because there's lack of accountability and transparency, this is why any policy made by government does not work.
All right, well, thank you so much, political analyst Francis Chikala, for joining me on the news and speaking on this.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I'm being told that we've been able to reconnect with our development analyst, Gbolahan Olojede, to speak on the weak Naira and the fact that the governor of Nigeria's apex bank, Olayemi Cardoso, says over $98 billion was actually spent on medical tourism, education, and personal travels. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me, Gbolahan.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right, so can you help us analyze some of the factors that are contributing to the significant spending of over $98 billion, especially on medical tourism, education, and personal travels within the last 10 years in Nigeria?
Well, interestingly, as far as healthcare is concerned, I was in that sector for about 5 years. And even all the way through my 5 years, one of the things we were always hammering is the fact that medical tourism is taking a chunk of foreign exchange out of this country. So our people, as a culture, we love to consume what we don't produce. So it is not just a matter of the imported food items that we eat or that we love to. I mean, I've heard Nigerians who say they can't eat Nigerian rice. I mean, and that is supposed to be something that they are proud about. So education, we love to consume foreign education. Healthcare, we love to consume foreign healthcare. Food, we love to consume foreign food. Clothing, we love to consume foreign clothing. So if everything we're consuming is foreign, obviously it will have an implication for our exchange rate.
So you agree with the CBN governor when he said that these are the reasons why Nigeria is in this mess that we're in right now?
Partially it is, but it doesn't tell the whole story. Because the flip side of that is that we're not producing, both in terms of goods and services. So you ask yourself, the guy that went to consume education outside, why did he go? So, and that is where the issue of production of both goods and services in country that meet the right level of standard that our people want to consume has to be considered as well. So it's a two-edged sword. We're not producing goods and services, we're consuming goods and services that are produced by other countries. So we are busy chasing dollars almost on a permanent basis. It's part of the problem we have with foreign exchange.
All right, Gbolahan, now if these spendings don't stop with immediate effect, how do you think it's going to impact the overall economic stability of Nigeria?
Oh, of course, if we stop all those foreign consumption, which is not likely because there's something to replace it at the home front. But if we do, it means that all this pressure on dollars will go down dramatically. And if that happens, the Naira will strengthen, obviously, and we will reduce all the volatility that we are currently seeing in the market. But it is not as easy as it appears.
All right, so
that was a...
Okay, so Gbolahan, now in your opinion, now what policy recommendations or interventions would you propose to address, the decline of Nigeria's Naira compared to the US dollar, especially taking into consideration the insights shared by the CBN governor during his appearance before the House of Representatives?
I think the CBN governor has said the right note. I like the way he captured it, that we're taking steps in the right direction. But that is just the monetary side of things, where he has control. We now have to look at the other side, the fiscal side of it, the productive sector of the economy, because in the medium to long-term run, it is those production that will actually sustain the value of the Naira that will make us have stability and take away all this volatility that we're experiencing in the long run. But in the short run, of course, issues around transparency of around our revenues, clearing outstanding supply issues on the CBN window. Those are the things that we can do for now. I dare say that if we can put a $10 billion to $15 billion supply on the table today, we probably will totally transform that. But where do we get $10 billion or $15 billion? That is the question, right? But over time, definitely we'll be able to solve.
It's a big question indeed. Well, thank you so much, development analyst Gbolahan Olojede, for joining me on the news and speaking on this.
Thanks for having me.
All right, now we move to security, where the Nigerian Senate would on Wednesday and Thursday grill the service chiefs over the state of insecurity in the country. Now, this was disclosed by Senator Tokunbo Abiru while announcing the postponement of the interface between the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions from Tuesday to Friday. Abiru, who is the chairman of the committee, said the planned interface with CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso was shifted to Friday since Wednesday and Thursday had been slated for the grilling of the service chiefs. The Senate had, by its resolution last week, summoned the service chiefs to appear before it in plenary for required explanations on the worsening security situation in the country. In the meantime, nearly 2 months after security operatives apprehended a vessel, MT Kali, for illegal oil deal, operatives of Tantita Security Service, in conjunction with other security personnel, have arrested another vessel loaded with 88,000 liters of crude oil in Sangana, Bayelsa State. Addressing reporters at the Oparosa Wari Southwest Local Government Area of Delta State, an operative of Tantita Security Service, Captain Wariedi Eniswo, said the arrest of the vessel with 16 crew members on board was possible due to collaboration with Navy, Army, and other security agencies.
A couple of weeks ago, we were here together, and the CDS gave very strict instructions on dealing with the scourge of crude oil theft. And what we can see here today is as a result of that instruction and order he gave, which was also heavily supported by the Chief of Naval Staff, who immediately put his men into very, very supportive roles, and that brought this ship called the Harbor Spirit.
As always, investigation has since begun, and further progress and eventual outcome of the investigation will be made public through the...
To health matters now, the Nigerian government has begun enforcing the ban on the importation, manufacture, distribution, sale and use of alcoholic beverages in sachet, PET and glass bottles of 200 milliliters and below. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control recently said the deadline given to manufacturers of the mentioned products to cease production in sachets and PET bottles elapsed on January 31, 2024. Bettina Ngweli has more.
Come on, Bandel. Sorry, I'm a general. I tell you, certainly, po. Kon jokun sanwa. Kon je kawa maleje, bache maleje. Oti eno nanta. Ta vi ramo ne school. Oti eno nanta. La vi sowo le. Kon jo toro lo. Come on, febi pawa. Kon sanwa. Kon jo.
Tó yẹ pé àwọn tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ bíríkìlà tó yẹ pé labour náà ń ṣe. Tó yẹ pé wọ́n gba 3,000 lójúmọ́. Tó yẹ pé wọ́n dẹ̀ ń ṣe fàájì. Tó yẹ pé kàn lọ́wọ́ ra beer, kàn rówó ra nǹkan kan. Tó yẹ pé sachet yẹn tó bá lè mú òun ló máa benefit wọn. Báwo náà fẹ́ fowó ra beer, èlò náà fẹ́ fi ra beer nínú 3,000. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ nǹkan tèmi kàn fẹ́ sọ ni pé ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ má jẹ́ ká bà Nàìjíríà jẹ́. Nigeria is molest.
Bí mo ṣe wà mi ò gbẹ̀yìnbó ṣùgbọ́n ògógóró ó ṣiṣẹ́ fún stroke. Èyàn ò lè máa mú para ni ṣùgbọ́n o gbọ́dọ̀ mu díẹ̀. Bó jẹ́ sachet kan ni wàá mu á fi ṣiṣẹ́ lára rẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n tó bá máa mú para yẹn òun ni ò dáa. So ilé ìjọba sọ pé kán máa báńdì ògógóró yẹn àbí pé kán máa mú yẹn kò jọ o. Ẹ má lọ tanra yín o.
According to the World Health Organization, it has been established that children who drink alcohol are more likely to use drugs, get bad grades, suffer injury or death, engage in risky sexual activity, make bad decisions, and have health problems. Also, it is stated that harmful consumption of alcohol is linked to more than 200 health conditions, including infectious diseases and non-communicable conditions.
This enforcement was done simultaneously at the same time in various cities across the country. Meanwhile, many products at the manufacturing facilities in various cities such as Jos, Enugu, Ibadan, Lagos, and Ota were evacuated, and others put on hold due to sheer volume and size that we could not evacuate, but all awaiting destruction.
In November 2023, the Lagos State government took steps to evacuate illegal stalls selling these sachet alcoholic drinks to children who attend Silver Spring Schools, Abaronje Road, Ikotun. The State Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Tokumbo Wahab, in a post made via his X handle, had given the directive and urged the school principal to take over the school's setback.
This sachet alcohol and PET bottle alcohol are hawked on the streets. Anybody can literally buy them, including children, underage groups, and vulnerable groups. And this makes it even more scary and deadly. In children, we have that problem of nutritional deficiency. It's a major concern, and also weakened immune system. Also, there's a risk of addiction and growing up to be unhealthy individuals and chronic alcoholics. Now, for general side effects of taking alcohol, it includes liver damage, kidney damage, mental health issues.
It is clear how the concerns go beyond the economic implications that affect manufacturers and sellers. The improper disposal of these used sachets has contributed to environmental as well as health hazards for society.
These sachets are ones that do not biodegrade. In fact, it takes about 400 years thereabouts. And because of the way we dispose them, they mostly even just break down and turn to microplastics. So you find them in our food chains, which is poisonous to us, right? I support the ban majorly because of the environmental impact. And then for the consumers, so yes, I know that because of the economic situation again, that was like a go-to for a number of people who couldn't afford the bottles and stuff. But it is just what it is. We have to trade because it has like very huge environmental impact. And it brings me back to even the first question about how we don't talk enough about the environmental impact some of these things have.
While there may be grievances among affected parties, it is important to note that the ban had been agreed upon by a multi-agency committee in 2018, outlining a gradual reduction in production before the complete phase-out in 2024. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
News Central now continues in West Africa, where the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, says it encourages member state Senegal to urgently restore the electoral timetable after this month's presidential election was delayed until December 15. The Economic Community of West African States, in a statement on Tuesday, encouraged the political class to take steps urgently to restore the electoral calendar. The regional body said it was following the unfolding events in Senegal, which has entered uncharted waters in delaying the February 25 votes with concern. It also called on all parties to shun violence and all other actions that may further disturb the peace and stability of the country. ECOWAS urges the law enforcement agencies to exercise utmost restraint and protect the fundamental rights of all citizens. The opposition in Senegal has denounced a constitutional coup after Parliament voted to delay the presidential election by 10 months, plunging the West African country into its worst crisis in decades. Lawmakers backed postponing this month's polls until December 15 during a heated debate, which at times descended into shoving and pushing. The proposal eventually passed almost unanimously late on Monday, but only after security forces stormed the chamber and removed some opposition deputies. It paves the way for President Macky Sall, whose second mandate was due to expire in April, to remain in office until his successor is installed, probably in 2025. Opposition members on Tuesday claimed the country has been taken hostage and also decried the erosion of Senegal's democratic norms. Still in Senegal, its ruling coalition, Benno Bokk Yakaar, BBY, has defended the postponement of the presidential election scheduled for February 25, 2024. The group made its position known at a press conference. Members of the National Assembly voted on Monday evening to postpone the election until December 15, 2024, described by the opposition as an institutional coup d'etat. According to the chairman of the BBY parliamentary group, Abdou Mbow, it became clear to them that the conditions for a free, transparent and inclusive election are not in place. Meanwhile, 3 Senegalese opposition MPs have been arrested in the fallout from Parliament's decision to postpone the presidential election by 10 months. The spokesperson for dissolved opposition party, PASTEF, El Malik Ndiaye, told newsmen that the 3 lawmakers from the opposition coalition Yewi Askanwi were arrested on Tuesday. On Monday, lawmakers approved a last-minute amendment to hold the vote in December, extending President Macky Sall's mandate. Now, most opposition MPs had been forcibly removed from the chamber after heated debates. The delay has also sparked widespread protests and international concern about Senegal's democracy among the most stable in the region. The U.S. Department of State, in a statement, said the move was contrary to Senegal's strong democratic tradition. And now we move to East Africa, where Ugandan-born Judge Julia Sebutinde has been elected Vice President of the International Court of Justice in Hague, Netherlands. The judge recently caused controversy in the international community, which she ruled against emergency measures requested by South Africa against Israel over the war in Gaza. She was the only judge on the 17-member ICJ panel to vote against all 6 measures adopted by the ICJ court in the ruling ordering Israel to take action to prevent acts of genocide as it fights Hamas militants in the Gaza Strip. Sebutinde was one of only 2 judges who issued dissenting judgments, while 15 voted for the emergency measures, which covered most of what South Africa had asked for in the case. The leader of a starvation cult, Paul Ntenge Mackenzie has appeared in a Kenyan court with other defendants in the coastal town of Malindi, charged with 191 counts of murder. Self-proclaimed Pastor Mackenzie, who has already been charged with terrorism, manslaughter, as well as child torture and cruelty, is alleged to have incited hundreds of his acolytes to starve to death in order to meet Jesus.
The application for bond is deferred until after the ruling on the PO, highlighting of submissions on the 7th of March, 2024.
And now to the Rainbow Nation. South Africa's opposition Democratic Alliance Party leader, John Steenhuisen, says his being white is not a handicap in key elections this year, 30 years after the end of apartheid. Speaking in Johannesburg, Steenhuisen said South Africans are tired of racial profiling. He also said the citizens see the Democratic Alliance as a party that is serious about uplifting them from poverty, creating jobs, and also building a better future for them and their families.
We are the most diverse political party in the country. If you look at the top 6 of the DA and you compare it to the top 6 of virtually every party to the left and right of us, they're monochromatic. There's the DA, black, white, Indian and coloured, reflected in the top leadership of the party. And I'm proud of that diversity, because when South Africans from any race group look at the DA, they can see something of themselves represented there. Even people come and go in politics. It is a natural attrition and occurrence that occurs. Some people are looking now, as we go into the election, the silly season, they start to see that perhaps they're not going to get back to Parliament on Party X's ticket, so they start jumping around looking for seats in other parties. Yes, we have had people come and go, but we're not the only party. There's mass defections currently taking place from the ANC to Jacob Zuma's new MK party.
Now in the world of sports, Bafana coach Hugo Broos says he remains focused on seeing his Chargers over the line in tonight's game at the Africa Cup of Nations semi-final clash against Nigeria in Cote d'Ivoire. Now Broos is bidding for a second AFCON title after leading Cameroon to the winners' medal in 2017. South Africa's record against Nigeria since they first met in 1992 has not been impressive, with the Bafana losing 7 times and drawing 5 of their 14 encounters. The Super Eagles are the highest-ranked team remaining in the tournament, and the Bafana are looking to pull off another upset after earlier eliminating pre-tournament favourites Morocco. Now, ahead of tonight's highly anticipated match, football fans from both countries are rooting for their respective teams, unsurprisingly. News Central's Moani Siziba is on the streets of Johannesburg to give us a taste of the mood in anticipation to the match. Hello, Moani. How are you doing today? Hello, Moani. If you can hear me, please go ahead and tell us what the mood is like.
Quite a pepperful morning. The mood is very vibrant here in South Africa. Both Nigerians and South African fans are very excited about the game. And it almost looks like it's the final, because the way how people are talking about this game here, it's like this is the final. But I'm in the heart of Johannesburg, where I just met a vibrant group of Nigerians who couldn't stop speaking about how Nigeria is going to beat South Africa today. And I have some of them who will join me just to speak about how they feel about this game. But also South African fans are also adamant that South Africa is going to beat Nigeria today. So it's an excitement that is going on here. But the mood, everyone is going on with their business, but people are also happy about this day today. But let me bring in someone just to tell us how they feel about this game, a Nigerian fan. Good afternoon, good morning, sir.
Good morning,
today,
madam.
Nigeria, South Africa, how do you feel?
Yeah, obviously, it's, Nigeria is already automatically in final. I don't have a match. South Africa is my wife. I'm going to do them as usual. Nigeria 3, South Africa 0. No doubt about that.
Okay, let me bring in someone else again just to hear their views. Your views, South Africa, Nigeria.
Yes, today is a wonderful day, a day we have been waiting for. South Africa is going to beat Nigeria. First half, 1-0. Second half, 1-0, that is 2-0. Today is South African Day. Bafana, Bafana, Viva South Africa, Viva Bafana, Bafana. Thank you, God bless you.
Yes, let me bring someone else again just to speak. Your views, South Africa, Nigeria.
Okay. In my own position in today's game, Nigeria straight away. We've beaten South Africa today 3-0. 3-0. That's the position of today's match. So, South Africa is going home today, and we are taking this score. Last time we took it in 2013. So, this is 11 years we haven't taken this score since 2013. So today we are beating South Africa today, and we are going to the finals, and we're taking this cup. That's my own prediction. Nigeria 3, South Africa 0.
Okay, let me take someone again. Your predictions?
My prediction is 2-0 in the favor of Nigeria. Nigeria is going to beat South Africa. Although it's going to be a tough game, we know they are ready for us, but we'll use our experience to beat them as usual.
Nigerian fans are very excited here, and they are saying that they are going to beat South Africa. But it's also the same sentiment with South African fans and everyone else who is around here, football fans. They are very excited. So we're going to be coming back again just to give you what the fans are saying here in South Africa. But before I go, Dashen, just to put you on the spotlight, your predictions.
My prediction, well, I actually feel, Bongani, that we might end up with a tie. The way the excitement is actually going, we might just end up with a tie. So who knows? But, we'll keep our fingers crossed.
You can see the mood here. Everyone
yes,
is excited.
Indeed.
See you later, Dashen. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much, Bongani. So much excitement in the air. South Africa versus Nigeria later on in the evening. It promises to be, a match to actually watch. And like some people have actually said, it feels like the finals already. It might be the finals for one of us, but we'll see how that goes. And with that, we actually come to the end of News Central now. But please do not forget to send in your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number showing on the screen at the moment. Do follow us on social media as well. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.